Namaste, Luca, Firewolf.
Namaste, namaste, Mayuri. How you doing?
I'm doing very good. Thank you for joining me on this short interview, chit chat, so that we can really let our people know who want to join for our healing retreat in November. Um, there are two retreats we're going to do, and one is going to be 3 days, and the other one is going to be 5 days. So we will let out the details of the schedule very soon. At the end of the interview, they will know where to contact, who to contact. So, Lux, tell me something. I have known you for more than around 8 years now, even more, I guess. I would like to understand what brings you to this aspect of teaching healing in the most authentic way. I know you as a person, but this is for all the people to know you a little more up close.
Well, first of all, I think, and I'm not the only one to think it, that this is one of the most critical moment for human race.
Mhm.
So there are many forces in this moment. They are pulling humanity in one way or another way. Mm? To make it more simple, though it's not so simple, I would say that there is a force that is trying to pull humanity toward darkness,
Mhm.
and a force or a group of people that is trying to pull humanity toward the light.
Okay.
So everything I am doing, of course, I'm not perfect, so I can fail, but everything that I'm doing, my pure intention is to bring more and more light on this planet.
Mm.
And then be through any possible tool. It can be breath work, it can be medicine plant, it can be satsang, anything. Because I think that this is a kind of, a moment where everything can happen. Uh, You probably have seen what just happened 2 days ago. They shoot to one president, or not president, almost president. So I mean, it's quite a difficult time, and I think that bringing awareness into more and more possible people, for me, is the best thing that I can do.
Mm. So well said. This is one of the nicest things I've always appreciated. So, can I share what I feel is about healing?
Yeah,
Um,
please.
I think every day the narrative of healing also changes for me depending on my progression in my own journey that happens. Um, I have come to realize that the core somewhere lies in the fact that we we know very little of the universe, and we experience a lot of things as being a part of the nature. And somehow, in today's time and day, we have cut off ourselves from the intuitiveness, from the naturalness of the nature, that the things which are so obvious seem to surprise us. Like, that we are part of the earth surprises us. There is a technique called as grounding one has to do. Remove your shoes, walk on the beach. For me, I'm always amazed that such basic things which we which we are born with, we have removed ourselves, like we've worked very hard to remove ourselves from the nature, which is why the faculty of perception, which is our intuition, telepathy, the soul connections, remembrance of either the quantum lives or the other lives, the ability to have impact on each other, being kind, all of these are not concepts, and we have forgotten this because this is a part of our soul. This is a part of our soul template. And I think, in my understanding, this is what I want to bring to the fore as an experiential reality. And I want to do it with as much honesty, as much authenticity, as much no fanciness associated with that. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, of course. I think a return to our true nature is one of the main thing. And what you call intuition, for me, it is the voice of the soul that we are not used to listen to anymore. Because there is so much noise on the background from everywhere on every level.
Yeah.
That is becoming, for most of the people, it's becoming more and more difficult to listen to the voice of our soul. And at the end, most of the students, I mean, in the last 20 years of doing all kind of workshop, at the end, the students, they always ask me the most difficult question. How do I recognize the voice of the soul from the voice of the mind?
That's an
That's the
interesting
problem.
question. Yeah.
And that's the problem. People are not more used to listen to the voice of the soul. And the problem is that when you have an intuition, you know, your inner voice is telling you, no, that's right. You have to do it. But then your mind, your conditioning, your culture is telling you, no, 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 you cannot do it. That is not right. That is not legal. That is not convenient.
Yeah.
And then the more you follow this voice, and the more your intuition is becoming weaker and weaker, because you're giving more power to the mind. And then the voice is, you don't listen to it anymore. That's a problem. That's the biggest problem.
Very well said. So I also want to prepare this conversation to kind of throw light upon the kind of modalities we will use, the kind of approach we have. And from the point of view of that, I think let's establish from each other's perspectives, what do we have to offer in terms of expectations? So for that one, first question is, let's open the topic of authenticity, because there is a lot of things that is happening. It's like a cultural, not cultural, any, it's like an entertainment of different types of healing techniques that are going on. So where do we sit there? Who are we? What are we offering? And from that perspective, my first question to you is, what is authenticity in your comprehension?
Well, first of all, it is not to lie to yourself, because most of us, we know the truth, but it's not convenient. Even in the last one of the last workshops, you know, I asked the people, do you want to know the truth? And everybody, of course, says, yes, of course, we want to know the truth. I mean, that's obvious that we want to know the truth. But then when they face the truth, it's not convenient. It means that when you know the truth, And this voice, that you call intuition, this voice that I can say is the voice of your soul, or is the voice of your spirit guides, is telling you, Luca, what you're doing is not really good. It's not really right. You should stop it. But I make money, but and then you don't do it. And that's the problem. Authenticity is something very simple. To be truth is something very simple. We just have to stop lying to ourselves.
So beautifully said.
If we are talking about healing. Okay, the most simple way, I would say, well, just listen to all the Vedic and all the Advaita teachers. Be here and now. If you are here and now, you are in the reality. But most of the people, they don't even understand what means here and now. It's not something physical. It's something total. It's the body, it's the emotion, it's the mind, it's the astral body, everything here and now. If you are here and now, you are not, and this is something that I realized in the last years. I was giving a lot of importance to trauma, because now, of course, obviously trauma, it is so important. But the problem again is that people, they love their trauma. They are attached to their trauma. They don't want to give up their trauma, because if they give up their trauma, then who they are, all the personality is based on a trauma. So sometimes when you try to take off the trauma, they get angry, because it's something that belongs to them. It's so dear to them. So, okay, Advaita say here and now. If you are here and now, there is no trauma. But the people, they are constantly in the past. They're still there in the memory, and they don't come here. They don't are now. So the problem of healing, I would say, okay, bring the people in the moment, and then there is healing. So for me, healing is something very simple. Practically, then it's a little bit more complicated, because bringing people out from their dreams, from their illusion, from their fake personality, it's something a bit complicated. It's a kind of, you can say, game that you have to play with the people, because the people, they are lost in their games, mind games. So it's always, okay, come back, be here and now, be here and now. Because if you're here, if you're now, then there is no more trauma. Where is the trauma? I don't see any trauma.
Right. So I think I would like to extend on that yes, I completely resonate with where you're coming from, because it's almost 40 years of experience. You have been a part of larger communities dedicated to living the life with the words that are imbibed in their lives. It's not like just a workshop. And I resonate with this, and which is why we are able to work together. These concepts are not very famous. How we are referring to authenticity, how we are referring to healing. In my experience, I've also gone through trauma, but I never gave so much of importance to the identity of it, as well as the fact that I've gone through the trauma is making me a better person. Yes, I may fail a couple of times, as a consequence of having faced the trauma. But the moment I give away my power that this is the trauma that I have, that means I am that, you know. So anytime any opportunity arises for me to come out of it, I'm also denying those opportunities, because that has shaped my identity so far to be who I am, that suddenly I don't know who I am without it. This is the conundrum. This is the crisis that people go through, and it's real. I would say empathetically, I have felt this, and I know it's very difficult to give up on the trauma, because you're so governed by the tendencies you've gone through all of your life. You don't know who you are outside of it. You don't even know the measure to which you can place yourself outside of it, right? So in such situations, what is healing? In my opinion, it keeps changing. It keeps changing. Your perspective has to widen, your horizon has to widen, your definitions have to change, your your being has to constantly raise questions about what you know. So after having been in all my life, in healing of one or the other modality, here today I just know that healing is something that is a shift in the perspective. It's not a cure. It's not something which is like how it's put up, like, okay, you got healed from the trauma means you suddenly become like this halo around you, an angel, and somebody who is immune to all kinds of vagaries of life, that you don't have a humanness associated with you. No, these things are the associations which people hold to healers as well as healing largely. And I think I wanted to debunk this myth that we are very much normal people leading normal lives, but it's just that we have walked the path long enough to learn from the illusions and not to make one of those illusion bubbles as the reality and saying, okay, this is what we're going to do and this is what healing looks like. Correct me if I'm wrong, in paraphrasing what you also said.
You are very right.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call myself a normal people, because the word normal comes from Latin norma, that means rule.
Rule.
So
Yes,
a
yes.
normal person is a person that is following the rules.
Rules, yes.
I am a natural people. I
Yes.
am trying to be more and more natural
More
as possible,
natural, yes.
but
English is
not
a language
normal.
like this. Yes, yes.
I'm
No,
not
it's
so normal.
very rightly said. When we come to definitions, how very interestingly you picked up this etymology, and that brings me back to even some realizations about the language which we use to communicate is also having so many layers, like one which is given by the society, one which is given by your peers, one which is given by the healers, one which is actually told by people who are in spirituality, and one which you have for yourself as a comprehension. So, amidst all of these layers, the real essence of it is, anyways, lost by mind per se. And I think, which is why I fall back upon the Samskrita chants, which are so powerful, not only in hearing them, but in their essence, they are like vibrations. We don't treat them as just normal nomenclatures which are used for communication for normal things. You can do it, but etymologically they all are derived from their activities, what they serve. So I think, I'm sure, like, there were lots of languages which were inspired from Sanskrita. Maybe it is Latin, maybe it is even Greek. Many ancient languages which have these vibrations which communicate far more effectively than what is stipulated as a rule. And I think this is an essential point for us to include so that we return to the naturalness of the spirit, which even transcends words, and by power of which we infuse the power into the words that we speak, the actions that we do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Luke, let me also take this opportunity to ask you about some of the practical applications. Now, we have introduced that this is not a normal, uh, normal understanding of the healing that we're going to teach, share. Um, the modalities that are going to come to you or come to people as an audience, as participants, is of course going to be a set of techniques as well. First, I want you to introduce the techniques you're going to lead with. Then I will also ask you what is the difference between the technique led by you and led by others. And you can, of course, ask me about it.
Okay. Before I talk about the technique, you were asking what is a healer.
Mm-hmm.
A healer is like an instrument, a musical instrument who is tuned.
Mm.
So most of the people, they are out of balance. You can say they are out of harmony. And that means that they have lost the key. They have lost the right tune. It means that they are not in harmony. Okay? Everything is vibration. Everything is a frequency. So there is harmonic frequency and there is disharmonic frequency. When our body is vibrating in a frequency that is not harmonic, that is not healthy, that's when we get sick. And then we get sick physically, we get sick mentally, we get sick emotionally, we get sick energetically because we are not vibrating on the right harmonic frequency. That's the most important thing. I mean, I've seen when you are teaching your mudra, when you're teaching your dancing and your movement, you are teaching something to bring back the people into harmony with
Yeah,
sound,
true.
with mantra, with movement of the hands. You know,
Me
that's what
too.
I've seen when you were giving classes
Yes,
during the
yes.
TPC. So also our thoughts have
Mm.
to be in harmony. Okay? So for me, a healer is simply a person who is in harmony, more or less,
More or less.
and is sharing his harmony with other people so that the people they can just say, oh wow, I feel good, it resonate with me. This person, it make me feel calm, happy, relax. Okay, so what I can do, you know, and this kind of curiosity bring the person to learn something that is not so much from the words, but it's from the person itself. That's why for me, in order to be a healer, you have to be present. And that's what something that you cannot fake. You cannot fake. So if you have this ability and you have this honesty to see, you will recognize a real healer from someone that, I mean, I don't mean there are bad guys, but they don't really know. Maybe they
Wow.
study, maybe they know the technique, but they're not present. Because it is, you can call it present, you can call it wisdom. It's not something copy paste.
Oh, you
You know,
speak my heart. It's music
you
to
know,
my ears. Yes, we've
and
had
many
such
people, they just
conversations
repeat
on
it.
this.
They just repeat it, you know. They ask, they come to me and say, "Oh, which word did you say to this person? It was just enough to say a few words, and this person just calmed down." But it's not the words. You cannot just repeat the word that I say, and that's enough. Because every moment is different. So you have to be present. And when you're present, everything comes by itself. And then you can use any possible technique.
It's like the spirit of our conversation. The whole conversation is summarized in these few words. Um, it really calls out to me, even when I'm thinking in my reflection or I'm in my sadhana. I always ask this question: do I want to teach what I'm teaching? Do I want to? Is sometimes it's like uh, the cart before the horse. You know, like you're so used to teaching certain way. I I don't like repeating anything just by virtue of the chronology. Chronology is interesting, structure is interesting, but that structure changes with the people, with the time, with the consciousness. If a person is not in tune with this aspect, then, as you said, it's like copy paste. It's like you're relaying what you have learned as a blueprint, and you're going to execute the same irrespective of whether it is relevant or not, which is when it becomes either too much, boring, or it becomes completely, oh, it's so complex, this person doesn't say the same thing, or there is a conflict in what you say at one time, and the other person, the same person, hears it in another group another time, seemingly opposite way of talking, but it is relevant for that group. I think this is very beautifully summarized as the ability to be present. And a person can only be present when he is or she is constantly reflecting who they are, what their thoughts are, their own living, their own approach, how close are they moving to their own sense of source. And for me, sometimes it's like I have complete clarity, and sometimes I'm also like a human being, and I just made it as a part of my structure to showcase the confusions I have, you know, the things that I also fail, so that it becomes relatable for people, that it is not that once you're a healer, you become immune to actions and reactions of the society, or say of your own thought processes. But as a healer, you are more aware of yourself as you would be aware of somebody else's behavior. So, this honesty of being aware of even the bullshit created by oneself gives the power for the healer to have the power in their in communication, in their teaching, in their sharing. Yeah. So we have about 5 minutes more to kind of bring this conversation quickly to a summary of the techniques. And then we will do a part two with a live or maybe a recording like this, so that they can tune up, tune up to what we're offering. And only if there is an alignment, it will be a fantastic synchronicity for us to celebrate the sharing. So, Luke, please, over to you for the techniques.
Well, my techniques are very simple. One technique is going to be breath work, because I found that the breath work is one of the techniques of therapy, if you want to call so, that is so fast, is so immediate to bring people in touch with their trauma. So if people, they want to see their trauma, they want to see their conditioning, breathwork so far is one of the most effective and fast way to face it, to see it. Of course, to see the trauma, it doesn't mean healing. But to see the trauma, it means that from tomorrow, you start working on it, because that's the most important thing. Just to see it is not enough. To work on it. And to work on it, it means, okay, now there are things to do. So now I have to give up certain things and I have to start certain things. Now I have to change in a certain way, in a healthy way. And breathwork for me, it has been so far one of the best way to face your trauma and to come back to the reality, together with medicine plant. But medicine plant is not for everybody, let's say.
Not for everyone, right? True.
Yeah. And the other thing for me, it's what you could call, in your language, you would call satsang. That means simply that we try to harmonize ourselves, the teachers and the students, with our intention, with our heart, and to bring up all the truth that is inside of us. Sat sang, it means in company of the truth. So we create a circle where we enhance our truth, where we let it out, and so that we can share it and we can bring it together and we can give power to our truth.
Yes. Amazing.
So that all the lies that we have believed, slowly they will appear as lies. Especially nowadays, because I mean, people, they are completely manipulated and brainwashed by media. That is just one lie after the other.
Yes. So
That's it.
to
Very
add to
simple.
this, we will have the mantras. There will be dance movements, and there will be some healing techniques which will use the light energy as a part of the sacred geometry. So more on these things we will be able to expand in our next sharing, because there is not much time left. I will have to wrap this up. But if you're open, you kind of get the drift of the approach that we're going to take. It's very much unlike the definitions that you have come by. These are not always found in textbooks, in courses, in any institutes. These are our own experiences of our lives, having spent several years, decades with spiritual teachers and practices. So you're welcome to join. And if you have any questions, please relay them to us. So, Luke's, it's been a wonderful, wonderful time as always sharing these with you. So let's try and make another live and get our people into the tribe. Yeah. Thank you. Namaste.
Thank you, Mayu. Thank you. Much love.
Thank you. 1 second.